Welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast, the go-to podcast for people who are called to make a positive impact through the power of coaching. You'll hear encouraging stories from coaches sharing their journeys and their lessons learned along the way, tips from top experts who help coaches thrive in their life and their business, and so much more. So if you're ready to create a business and a life of impact that you love, let's get started. Hello, welcome to the first episode of season 4 of the Create a Life You Love podcast. I'm so excited that you're about to listen to an amazing 2-part episode. So today we're dropping part 1, and then tomorrow we'll drop the bonus part 2 of my discussion with my new co-host, Guin White. So grab your favorite beverage, and I hope you enjoy. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on today's very exciting and special episode of the Create a Life You Love podcast. If you don't know me yet, I'm your host, Chantal Cox. I'm an author, a speaker, a transformation neuro coach, and a certified life purpose coach who saves purpose-driven coaches from feeling stuck so that you can get off the hamster wheel and really make that aligned impact that you're destined for without being overwhelmed and burnt out. And I am just so beyond excited to be here with you tonight, kicking off season 4. Finally, we have so many exciting updates and episodes planned out for you. And my favorite update I want to share with you today is this fabulous woman right here with me today live, Guin White. So Guin is a quantum. Hi, yes. I just keep talking. Hello, Guin.
Hello
How are
out
you?
there.
So, yes. So let me just give a little bit of background so everybody knows what we're doing. And then, so Guin is, I lost my spot on my notes here. Guin is a quantum human design specialist, and she's also a certified virtual coach. And you may just recognize her from our first collaboration about a year back. It actually was in October 2021, and it was titled How to Be Aligned by Design. And we will get that link for you so you can go back and check it out. And what's exciting is Guin and I crossed paths and met through, we're both coaches, and we were doing a like a boot camp together, kind of learning and growing in our own businesses. And we just met and really meshed. And so now she's been serving as a coach in the Create a Life You Love membership for a few months now. And her knowledge, her insight, her wisdom, it's just been absolutely invaluable as we serve our members and really take the membership as a whole to an entire new level so that they can really make the impact they're designed for. And so while I was mapping out season 4 of the podcast, it just made sense, right? To be like, hey, do you want to do this with me too? And because we have now a very similar purpose and focus for both the membership and the podcast. And I just know that she's going to bring so much experience and has so many skills to share. And yeah, I'm very excited that she's here, very excited to introduce you all to her and to kick off season 4. And so I'm going to stop talking. Guin, how are you?
Yay! Well, let's just take a moment to celebrate season 4, episode 1 of the Create a Life You Love podcast. I am so deeply honored to be here with you, Chantal, and to kind of be taking on this new role. By your side as your support, and working with this incredible group, this incredible community, and I want to, of course, make a special shout out to our members in the Create a Life You Love membership. And I am doing fantastically well today. Thank you for asking. It is a beautiful day, another day in paradise.
Oh, I love it. So tell us where you are. Where's paradise for you right now?
Paradise for me right now is Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is where my husband and I have been living and working now for, gosh, I think it's 2 decades. Yeah, we are coming up on 20 years in Santa Fe. Unbelievable. So yeah, we love it here. We do indeed.
Yay. Well, I love it. I can't wait to really kind of get going in here and we have kind of a fun setup for today. But I really want to check in with you real quick because as I think about, your journey, what I know about it, you've been a guest on many podcasts over the years, and you're stepping into a little bit of a new role. And here we are, 7 minutes in, and I want to check in. And also with the background knowledge, knowing that literally all of our current members and many of the people listening in on the audience on some level may be interested in starting their own podcast at some point and or just stepping into some new role in their own business or their life. So I just wanted to check in and see how you were doing and what was going on for you.
Um, it's really amazing for me to get to work with you, particularly in this aspect on the podcast, because this is something I've actually been tossing around for a while, thinking about a podcast of my own. And when you invited me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually really perfect for me. When I think about, and of course, we'll be talking a little bit about human design, but when I think about my own design, this is actually like kind of a perfect collaboration for me. So I'm not only excited for this new season and tonight's episode, and of course the opportunity to, throughout our time together tonight to like interview each other and of course using kind of introducing this new format on each other that will be rolling out as we move further into season 4. But of course, before we dive in entirely and really kick this off, I do want to thank our sponsor and shout out to the Create a Life You Love membership, this amazing network, this community that you created just brilliantly, which is a growing network of these passionate, purpose-driven coaches who are all partnering in powerful ways to increase their knowledge, their momentum, and of course, their impact. So yeah, I think it would be great if we can share some information with whomever is interested, whoever is listening about Create a Life You Love membership, because as we build it out, as we grow it, there's going to be more and more and more to offer. But already it's so incredible with the app, with all of the masterclass offerings that we've already done with this podcast, and opportunities to actually be a guest if you're a member and participate in this process as well. And so many other just incredible benefits, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and it's all at a tremendous value. So I hope everyone takes a moment to visit the createalifeyoulove.com coaching/membership page so that they can learn more about the membership. And if it's something they might, consider getting in on, because I know we're seeing a lot of value being offered there.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, Gwen. It's been so fun
It has
collaborating
been.
with you, serving our members, and just yeah, I'm really proud of us, Gwen. And I think there's been a lot of hard work and passion that's poured into all the things that we're collaborating on, including this podcast. And I'm just so excited to see, even in like 3 months, where everything is. So, yeah.
Likewise, Chantal. It feels like in many ways a dream come true. And in so many ways, I find the membership for me, particularly, it's such a great accountability tool because I am a notorious procrastinator. Um, and that's based on my own journey with perfectionism. And so a lot of what we do is implement. And this is really giving me a lot of impetus, and it's really spurring my creativity. And it's also just essentially like I'm getting all of the things that I've wanted to create out there. And so it's been such a gift, such a blessing, frankly, for me to get to share some of the things that I coach around with our amazing members. And it's like Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's done. And our group is really coming together and everyone is learning and growing. It's amazing, really is.
I agree. And I love that, we found each other and we provide ourselves a lot of grace and compassion. We provide each other a lot of grace and compassion. And we're building a community where that is just one of the, like social norms of the community is if you're trying to be perfect and you're striving for all that, it's exhausting and you're going to
It is.
burn out and not make the impact you're destined for. Like, let it go. I mean, already
Exactly.
in the few minutes we've been on, I've probably, old Chantel would have been freaking out, like, oh, I didn't do this. And like, here's the 7,000 things I messed up on. And current Chantel is like, and here we go. No big deal. Guess what? No one died. Let's go.
Exactly. We showed up, we are here, and I am delighted, frankly. Yeah, I give us major kudos.
100%. I love it. So with that, I'm going to kind of ask you an interview question and we'll just
Yes.
kind of, throw the ball back and forth a little bit for while we're here on the episode and get to know each other and let the audience kind of know where we're at, what we're doing. And so I just love, love, love for you to share a little bit about your journey of creating a life that you love through coaching and, things like who do you serve, what got you started, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. It's interesting. It took me a while to really come to become comfortable embracing the identity of coach. But particularly as I got a certification in coaching, I started thinking back on my career. And it's really interesting, Chantal, when I think about how I led people, particularly when I was really deep in my sales rep kind of identity, I really was actually coaching my customers and clients more so than I was selling them. I was very responsive. I asked a lot of questions. It was all based around curiosity and also getting them what they wanted. And I was always one of those people that was like, if whatever it is that I'm offering isn't the right thing for them, so be it. I want them to, yeah, I want the people that I work with to get what they want, to get what they need. And so, when I started thinking about kind of reframing my career in that way, it really made me so much more comfortable with that identity. And it's like, that's right. I actually have been coaching for decades, frankly. And even though I'm relatively new to the certification of coaching, what I've been doing throughout my career has been coaching. And of course, as you mentioned, you and I came together through this boot camp and we found each other. We spent some time getting to know each other. And I was delighted that we have been able to kind of continue connecting over these last months. And, our journey to the Create a Life You Love membership has been, such a lovely, nice progression. But at the same time, it's kind of like this quantum leap for me. I feel like, um, yeah, getting to partner with someone of your caliber, of your incredible, like you are an implementer to the nth degree. And I just appreciate that about you so much, Chantal.
Aw, well, thank you so much. I knew, I don't know, after our first conversation, that I was like, I want to work with her in some way. I want to collaborate with her in some way. I was serving a totally different audience. I had a totally different vision. Like I never in a million years could have predicted that this is what it would end up looking like, but I just knew there was something internally that I'm like, this is something like, so we got you on
Absolutely.
the podcast about a year ago, but I knew that wasn't going to be it that was just kind of a way to maintain some communication and kind of build on our relationship as we got to know each other better and everything. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, I feel the same way. I think that as coaches, particularly those who are really, have that kind of growth mindset, which I really feel like is so embodied and so exemplified by Create a Life You Love. Yeah, you find that evolution is a part of it, a part of the journey. Exactly. I started out serving a very different community than I do now. And I really feel like, are working with women primarily, women coaches, women entrepreneurs, um, you know, the women who are creative. Those are the things that I really find myself kind of like, okay, I'm really honing in.
Mhm.
But I know that who knows, 5 years from now,
Yeah,
that may change yet again.
100%. Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to take a moment and ask you a few questions as well. I never asked, first and foremost, where you're joining from.
I am wonderful, Wichita, Kansas, and I don't say that sarcastically at all. I really, truly love it here. I moved here on a 3 to 5 year plan 15 years ago, and while I foresee travels, even like long-term 3 to 6 month travels in my future, this will always be my home base.
Beautiful. And I know that you have a background in education. Tell us about your journey to creating that life that you love through coaching. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. Oh man, it hasn't been a journey. Lots of twists and turns and, upside down loop-de-loops and all kinds of things you could never imagine or predict. Very much like some of the things that you shared, and very much, I'm sure, resonating with lots of the people watching and listening. And so, just like you, my audience has shifted significantly. And so currently, my main audience for the podcast, for the membership, I still do one-on-one coaching with anyone, everyone, whatever they need, if I can help them. But in the kind of the more group aspects, the current audience is female purpose-driven coaches, who, like so many of us, myself included, you start out with this calling to just really help others through coaching, whether you're calling it coaching or not. Um, it's essentially coaching. And you just soon find yourself just so stressed out, so overwhelmed, so confused, and sadly, oftentimes in some pretty significant debt and not necessarily bringing in the income that you were promised you would, return on investment, that whole thing. And so what I'm going to say next is a very umbrella statement. There are people in the coaching industry that are just here to serve and living in alignment and doing amazing, beautiful, wonderful things. So I know that. I mean, I'm working with one right now, and I strive to be one, and all of our members are in that same boat. But when I really step back and look at kind of the coaching industry as a whole, it just feels like it's kind of lost its focus a little bit. And it feels like it's kind of been um, just taken over by these, like, quote unquote, like gurus and experts. And they, for whatever reason, however, they made enough money to have the biggest ad spend. So they're the loudest voices that we're seeing as we're scrolling social media and all that. And they're making these promises and these claims like, I don't know, buy my $10,000 program and you'll make 100K in 30 minutes, right? And that's a slight exaggeration, but not that far off. I'm sure you've all seen it in some way, shape, or form, kind of that, um, I don't know, sleazy marketing, for lack of better words. And then they just proceed to, so, you drop your 10K or whatever on this program, and they proceed to shove this idea or strategy down people's throats and never even take time to think about, is this even aligned with the type of business or life that the people that have hired me are actually trying to create? And what that does is it creates this cycle of jumping strategy to strategy and thinking, and we all begin to think that, oh, there's something wrong with me. The strategy where I'm just the only one who can't get it to work. So we jump strategy to strategy. We pay more money. We spend more time. We spin our wheels. We become busier and busier. And the thing is that you are perfect. You are wonderful. And there are people out there desperately waiting for you and your unique gifts that only you have. And they need your help in a way that only you can help them. And so I'm very passionate about wanting to disrupt this senseless cycle and really help coaches just shut out the noise, because that's all it is. It's just noise, and begin to look internally and create their own vision of success for not only their business, but their life of impact, and then support them in achieving this version of success in all areas of their life, because we are whole creatures. We could be rocking it in business, but our health could be failing. Our relationships could be failing. Like, so we really want to look at it as a whole. And if we're working so hard and spending so much time, energy, and money on this vision, we better make sure it's a vision we actually want, right? And then,
Exactly right.
yeah,
Exactly right. It's interesting that you talked about, yeah, the kind of prevalent marketing mantra of the coaching world right now. And yes, you're right. It is, it's almost formulaic.
mhm,
You can go on Instagram or Facebook or just about any of the social media platforms currently, and you'll find ad after ad after ad targeted at you if you have the term coach anywhere in your profile. And yes, it feels a little icky. It kind of, there are, you're almost talking about leaning into predatory sort
right.
of behavior in some instances. And, I recognize that for, many of these, super coaches, they've worked really hard, but yeah, the promises that are coming out at this point, yeah, maybe bit of a slight exaggeration. And agreed. Much of what I'm seeing, like you, Chantal, is a very cookie cutter approach to teaching, coaching, marketing, coaching strategy. You have to do it this way. You have to get this done. You have to do these things. And yeah, I think you and I have a very different sort of mindset about this particular aspect of coaching and the coaching world. Yeah, that alignment
Yeah,
is really the key.
absolutely. We don't need to be looking outside of us for the answer. It's there. Just need to find out ways to tap into it. And so often we're looking for validation from the outside, which is how we were raised. We had to ask for permission to do this and that. And like, so now we're adults doing this amazing thing, trying to help all these people, and we're asking permission. Is that the right niche for me? Should I do a podcast, or should I do this? Should I, and it's like, what aligns with you? Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out together. I'm not just gonna be like, I don't know, go lock yourself in a closet, come back out when you know the answer. Like,
Exactly.
we
Go
need
experiment for a
something
few
to,
years and
yeah.
yeah, let me know how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. When you,
Exactly, because we can learn from the benefit of each other's experiments and experiences.
mhm,
Um, you talked about asking permission. For me, a lot of it is comparison.
mhm,
It's like, ooh, they've got it all. They've got some secret. They've got some key. And it's like, guess what? Nope.
right,
Nobody has the secret. Nobody has the key except yourself. Know, what's aligned and what's going to work for you. And if you need help unlocking that or understanding that, because again, it is so easy
mm,
to misunderstand what it is to get caught up in, all of the messaging and marketing that's out there. It can really throw you off track. You even get to the point where you aren't even sure what it is that you want.
right.
So yeah, getting to just answering that question alone can be a massive breakthrough for coaches.
100%. I am looking over at the chat. If you guys are live with us, always feel free to chime in on the chat. And we do have one person trying to find us, so I will get them the link here in a moment. But before I go do that, so we kind of just talked about the importance of helping people through the podcast, people through the membership, and the things that we do, helping them figure out what their own definition of success is in their areas of life. And so, Gwen, I'd love to hear what, create a business and life of impact you love means to you.
Mm. Well, you hit on a lot of what I have come to understand for myself, is, for me, what it is creating a life that I love. A lot of it has to do with exactly knowing the kind of life, the kind of feeling that you want to have every day, just honing in on how you want to feel. And then understanding what it is that you need to kind of create in your life so that you do feel that way as much as you can on a consistent and regular basis. So for me, I thrive on having, a sort of a routine, this kind of daily kind of prime myself for productivity routine that I, you know, do every day, um, pretty much without fail. I'm not perfect, um, but that really helps to set me up for the kind of day that I really want to have. And then I give myself a lot of leeway because I've come to understand that, um, while throughout most of my career, I lived and died by a to-do list and a calendar and, my phone and all of those things, it created so much stress and anxiety to the point that I broke down. And so I recognize that building in a lot of um, free time, or not even free time so much, just not over scheduling, because I have the worst habit of that. I have, a lifelong journey of filling up every little space in my calendar and then having a to-do list on top of that, et cetera, et cetera. And so for me, freeing up that time, when I started that as an exercise, it almost made me feel more anxious, just simply because I was like, I was so used to being led in my life by all of that, um, you know, all of that stuff coming out of my computer or my phone telling me what to do next. Okay, you've got to be here next. You're going here now. You're doing this next. And of course, you would have a million interruptions. Well, now, my days are far more unstructured, and I'm finally recognizing the beauty in that. Um, Another great thing that I've started to do for myself is recognizing those things that bring me joy. When I was little, I lived on roller skates, and I, years ago, gave them up. They got lost along the way. But for my birthday this year, guess what I bought myself? Bought myself some roller skates with the light up wheels.
Oh,
Now, of course, I got full knee pads, elbow pads, a new helmet, um, because it's been a while. But I'm no longer willing to deprive myself of the things that I know
mhm,
bring me joy, bring me peace, bring me feelings of satisfaction. Whereas before, that's how I lived. It's
mhm,
like, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it until you've done this, until you've achieved this. Horrible. I mean, when I think about how I treated myself, it's like,
right.
you were really a mean person to yourself. And you know, uh, I know that now looking back, I can own that I was hard on the people in my life, not just myself, but everyone around me, because I was so regimented and
Mhm,
so like, oh, you're going to do it. I efforted my way through almost everything. And of course, when I had a span of a few days off, I crashed,
mhm,
crashed. And it was just like I was just a lump.
right.
So, yeah, I'm no longer doing that. Not that I don't overdo it sometimes, but now I recognize it's like, oh, guess what? You're tired. That's why you feel like you feel.
Mhm,
You're tired and you need a little rest time. And guess what? You're going to give it to yourself,
that.
because you're worth it, and because, yeah, you have an impact to make in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are such important lessons to learn and ones that
Mhm.
I too have, struggled with and learned over the years. I'm sure many of our listeners have as well. And
Mm.
it just always boggles my mind how cruel we are to ourselves. Like we say things in our head subconsciously that we don't even take notice of, that we never in a million years would say to anyone else to their face. Like just cruel, mean, hurtful things. Like why? So that
Exactly.
takes
Things you would never say
sure.
to a friend, a loved one, a complete stranger for
Right.
that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I want to ask you or ask you to tell our audience what create a business and life of impact you love means to you.
yes. So I, like most people, was raised in, and conditioned of all the societal shoulds. And
Mm.
it takes a long time to, number one, realize that that's happened and that's a thing. And number two, begin to question, okay, so I should do ABC. Do I want to do ABC? Does that work for me? Like, I've got one life. Is that what I want to spend doing it, and this is for all areas of your life, like I'm 38 years old. I should be married and have 2.5 kids. Well, doesn't work for me. That's not what happened in my life, right? That's just not what it is. And so being able to really, even for examples like that, think about, okay, so I've got the subconscious should, like driving my decisions, driving my actions. But if I time out and really process and really think this through, is that what I want? And oh golly, if it's not, then what? And then really, then that's when you can begin visualizing that, my vision does not include living 365 days in the same house. I love my house. I love where I live. I love my family. I love my friends. But I also grew up traveling and living abroad. And so I want to be at a place in my life where I can throw a dart at a map, go rent an Airbnb for 3 to 6 months, live on that beach, and really immerse myself in that community and that culture and experience what life has to offer there. And then come back to my lovely little Wichita, Kansas, and recalibrate and connect with those family and friends and enjoy that time here fully, not just waiting for the next trip, but really fully enjoy the time I'm here. And then know when I'm throwing my next dart and planning my next trip. So that to me is the ultimate vision of success in my life and happiness in my life and all the things that it takes to get that. I've got to be at a certain level of health and productivity. And, there's other aspects of my life that I need to be aligned in a certain way to be able to achieve that vision. And so, but really, that's my ultimate when I sit down and start visualizing and journaling. Those are the things that I'm my kind of like big vision. And then you can break it down into the other areas of your life. And okay, so to get this, what do we need to do?
Beautiful. Love it. And how has that vision evolved? Like, where did you kind of start? And I would love for you to talk a little bit about your book.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, I definitely never, back when this kind of journey started, was like, I want to be a coach. I had been about 3 or 4 years out of an abusive marriage. And when I had, um, first 6 months, total hot mess, dumpster fire. Didn't know which way was up, just surviving. Just, can I wake up tomorrow? Can I get through the day? What does this look like? But after about that first 6 months, I started really throwing myself into the personal development, self-help world for the first time in my entire life. And as I was reading the books, listening to the audiobooks, watching the YouTubes, and I started noticing the themes that, okay, so I've never had a gratitude journal. That sounds really dumb. I don't have time for that. How is that going to help me? But this is the sixth different person that I trusted enough to buy their book, and I invested the time to read their book or listen to their book, and they're all talking about this stupid gratitude journal. Hey, maybe I should listen. Maybe I should try it out. Right? So I eventually get the lesson, Gwen. I didn't say I'm the sharpest one that gets it right away, but
I'm right there with you, Chantal. I resist and resist and resist. But yes, there might be something to all this gratitude stuff, right?
Yeah. And so as I started implementing things that I was learning, I had a pretty quick, pretty radical transformation in my personal life, which included my health. I made my confidence, everything. And so I would walk into a room and I was noticeably a different person. And so my friends and family started asking, like, okay, you walk in this room and you're confident and you're joyful and there's just this light, you're just glowing. Like, what did you do? How can I do it? Who are you? Like jumping out of airplanes, you're going like traveling and doing this like bachata dance team. Like, what is that? Like, yeah, just things I never would have dreamed of. Um, and so I brought in my teacher background. At that time, I had already left the classroom, which I'll go into how that ties, but I was still in and still am in the special education, public education world. And so I used my little teacher brain to make little lesson plans and worksheets and started sharing a little bit. Well, here's the 5 things I did to start a gratitude journal and things like that. And as people tried them out, and then they'd come back to me and be like, okay, I thought you were crazy. I was going to do it for like 3 days and then give up. But in 2 days, here's what happened. So what else did you do? What else can I do? And I'm like, what? So this terrible thing that I've gone through, this horrible relationship and feeling like I've blown up my life on my 30th birthday and given up any chance I'll ever have to like have kids and live the little, American dream family that I thought that I should, be striving for. Um, wasn't a thing, but so maybe there's something else. Maybe there's something different that I'm supposed to do with my life. And so that led me to writing a book. And that really was I'm like, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get it out there. If one person reads it and it helps them, then it was worth it. And oh, by the way, it gave me something productive to focus on for a little bit. And what happened was it was very well received. And people were coming to book signings. And I remember vividly this one guy, I knew him through dance, and he brings a book he had bought on Amazon. He'd already gotten it, he'd already read it, and he shows up to one of my book signings and is telling me, like, finding specific pages and specific examples and telling me this story helped me, and here's how, and here's what I did, and and I was just like, is this real life? This is really happening. Like, oh my gosh, totally worth it. Right. And then he asked if he could hire me. And I'm like, to tutor your kid? Do you have a special needs kid that I don't know about? Like, what do you want to hire me to do? Like, totally oblivious. Again, not necessarily the sharpest tool in the shed, but I get it eventually. But he said, I would like to hire you to be my life coach. To which I told him all the reasons that I was not qualified to do that. And he could not do that. And he should probably Google that and find somebody more qualified than me. And I hope he did. But it did spawn a question and a thought process of, what does this mean? And I was jokingly telling people that about this weird thing that happened and how crazy is this person? And it was brought to my attention that, yes, Chantal, you are a special educator. You are a teacher. You have the identity and you're good at those things. However, what does your name tag actually say and has said for a couple of years? And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm an instructional coach. I've been trained as a coach. I am being paid as a coach. I'm actually not that bad at it and I really enjoy it. And I was like, why could my brain not connect that? And it's like you said, the identity. I could not embrace that identity. I was so firm in my subconscious that I am a teacher. I literally, when people would, you're out at the social thing and they're like, oh, what do you do? My answer was literally, oh, I'm a special educator currently serving as an instructional coach. Like, I had to like distance myself from that title because it wasn't part of this core identity I had created for myself since I was 5 years old.
Exactly. You had to sneak up on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I love having coaches, communities, friends, family that can reflect things to you, because your subconscious is so blocked that I could not see it. Like, somebody had to literally point out the obvious to me. Like, what are you currently paid to do right now? So why could you not be a life coach if you wanted to? And I'm like, well, okay. So thus began the research of how does one become a coach? What type of certifications are out there? What does that look like? What does it entail? And then the universe, when you actually open yourself up to looking at things, a podcast I've been listening to forever, Hal Elrod, what is his goal achievers or something like that? That's what he opens his thing. Hello, goal achievers. I think it's Achieve Your Goals podcast. And so I was listening to him and he had this awesome woman I never heard of before, Dr. Shannon Irvin. And she was talking about how she was an entrepreneur and she was struggling and didn't understand how all these other people were successful. And so she wanted to learn how her brain was holding her back. So she went and got a PhD in neuropsychology. Yeah, she
Wow.
goes all in on things. She's amazing. And that she took what she learned, applied it to her business, skyrocketed, had multiple successful businesses. And then people obviously come to her. What did you do? How did you do it? How can you help me? And so she developed this coaching model. It's called the Neuro coaching model. And she was booked out. Like there was not enough time in the day. And so then she started her coaching certification because she's so passionate about getting people trained and using this methodology to make a huge impact. And so, yes, I went and got my neuro coaching certification with her, went on to do the master neuro certification. And then now, and a couple different times throughout my journey, have helped serve some of her clients in her programs. So it's really fun to stay connected with that community and just continue to learn and grow so much from her and the amazing people I've met in the programs.
Wow. Wow. Talk about a major evolution.
Oh,
And yes, and also talk about going all in on something.
yes.
From being asked if you would be my coach, from someone who you were associated with and who you knew, to essentially becoming a master neuro coach. Incredible.
Yeah. I
And
don't do things
yeah,
halfway.
exactly. You absolutely do not. It's incredible. Well, it's yeah. And I love that you're also sharing some of the tenets of neurocoaching with our Create a Life You Love members. You're sharing those, as masterclass offerings. And I have to say, I'm, learning so much from you, as far as some really new and interesting coaching techniques. And so hats off to Shannon,
Oh, yes.
Dr. Shannon, and hats off to you, Chantal, for continuing her work and her legacy as well, and expanding your, your coaching knowledge. For me, I find that lifelong learning is like one of my big pillars. So, yeah,
Absolutely. It's one of the many reasons we get along so well.
exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to dive into, all right, that was so amazing. I can't wait for you to hear part 2 when it drops tomorrow or whenever you're listening to it, just the next episode. So let us know what you think. We can't wait to connect with you and hear from you. So enjoy the journey. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. We would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with us on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. If you're ready to build aligned and sustainable momentum without overwhelm and burnout, we invite you to apply for the Create a Life You Love membership on our website, createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.